Out of curiosity, how's recruiting?
Uh, I, I only talk about the things that I'm allowed to talk about, and the NCAA has a lot of rules. But we, we've been attacking recruiting since the day we got here, and we'll continue to. And the one thing that I can talk about a lot is Keyshawn Tillery because he's signed. So in terms of Keyshawn Tillery, and you got talked about this last week, I couldn't be more thrilled. And we'll keep attacking everything we can possibly attack on a day-to-day basis in recruiting. But that's the one thing I can't talk about guys we're actively recruiting until they sign. So
You said last week at your radio show Dan could be a week away from getting some light shooting in. Is it still that kind of timeline of a week and then he's week to week, and has he been able to get any more involved so far?
It's going. I think he's ahead of schedule from what I heard. The team doc was here. Guys, days run together this time of year. A couple days ago, I meet with our medical staff on campus every day about our whole team, and he's doing great. He's ahead of schedule, and hopefully we'll start progressing him on the floor next week. I don't think that necessarily means he'll play in games, but I think he's ahead of schedule based on what we thought a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and we'll keep you updated as we know more. There's not a lot to report right now.
Now that you've had a chance to go back and watch the film, just what were your takeaways on rebounding in the game against NKU?
Yeah, well, I number one, I want to give Darren and his group credit. They were incredibly physical, and they I think they'll be a team that'll be a good rebounding team all year. I don't think that'll just be a one-night thing. And they had to be disappointed with the way they rebounded and pursued the ball in the previous game, and I thought they did a nice job of responding. As I said after the game, I was extremely displeased with that aspect of the game for us. We addressed that yesterday with our team, and we'll get to work on it today.
You kind of touched on CMOS after the game but didn't elaborate on it a lot, and I'm curious, when you see him pull up for that, I think it was a 25-footer near the logo, what's your initial reaction when he goes for that shot?
It wasn't the logo, but he has all my confidence, and he has the confidence of our entire staff and all of his teammates. This isn't, again, like, he's been here, for well over a year now. We see the work ethic. We see the production every day in practice. He had a great year last year, especially as he got healthy in the second half of the year. So he's earned all the freedom and confidence from not just me, but from everybody around here on how he approaches it every day. So, what's a good shot for CMOS isn't necessarily a good shot for other players. But if he gets a clean look from three at any point, anywhere within his range, which is pretty deep, I think that's a very good shot for our team. So what may seem like to, a casual bystander, man, that's not a great shot. I can't believe they let him shoot it. I mean, I think for CMOS it's very different. He's got a lot of freedom, and he's earned that freedom.
What do you expect out of Georgia Tech? Some of those guys are back, and then they've added McCollum from Oklahoma.
I think Damon does a terrific job. You look down their roster and you see the first thing that is going to lead to some success this year, and that's some continuity on their roster from a year ago. And they had some really, really gifted young players that they played heavy minutes in the ACC last year, and those guys are returning, and they're significantly improved. And because of that, they're going to have a significantly better year. And then they also did a great job of adding the right kind of pieces in the transfer portal. And, I could go down their whole roster. I'm not going to do that, because I'm about to do that with our team here. Here in practice this afternoon, we go through the scouting report. But they've assembled a great roster. Damon is a proven coach. I have an incredible amount of respect for him. So returning players, great great players in the transfer portal, great coaching. It's a game on the road against an ACC opponent. We know we have our hands full, and that's a test that we're excited for the test, but we do know it's a test.
Is there a conflicting pace style between your team and Georgia Tech that you want to play slower, which is how you guys have played so far this year, compared to the rest of the country, versus Georgia Tech, who's played with a lot of pace through 4 games?
I don't think we've played slower at all. I think we're playing with a lot of pace. I think that if you look at if you try to really look at advanced analytics after 3 or 4 games, you're going to miss the boat a lot. I think I'd wait till about 10 games to look at it. I mean, in our last game against NKU, their style of play is very slow. So, they're NKU is they were blowing it up the floor fast, but if they didn't shoot one fast, which only happened on literally less than 5 possessions all night, if they didn't shoot it fast, they turned it over and over and over and over again, and shot a lot of shots late in the middle part of the shot clock or late in the shot clock, which leads to really, really long defensive possessions. Okay, in some of our first 2 games, even playing against teams that try to shoot a little quick. Well, Moorhead's really slow, so we played 2 games of our 4 against teams that are really slow in terms of their pace of play. And we say pace of play, we mean how quick they shoot. I mean, Northern Kentucky has a slow pace of play on paper, but they run really hard, and they try to steal some easy ones. Even in against Nichols and Pine Bluff, we did a good job of setting our D against teams that shoot it fast, so they don't shoot as many quick shots, and they have to turn it over because they can't get advantages at times. So we've had some longer defensive possessions, even against teams that shoot it fast, because we've had some good defensive possessions. All right, that's going to change the analytics. Again, we don't have enough data to really say it, but we've had some high possession games already. But if you take the Moorhead and the Northern Kentucky game, 2 of the 4 teams really try to slow the game down with their pace of play, and that's going to skew the analytics. So, I mean, we value pace. We run on makes, misses, steals. But we do value taking great shots. So if we can get a great shot in the first 2, 3, 4 seconds, I'm the happiest guy in the world. But if it's not there, we're going to try to get to some action and get a great shot out of action. I think at the end of the year, when you look up our pace of play, when you look at a very simple statistic on pace of play, it's just going to say how long do you have the ball before you shoot it. Right? I think we'll finish somewhere that's above average. But I think if people actually value how hard we push for great shots, I think we'll be way above average, because we're going to do that consistently, hopefully as good as anybody in the country.
Dede Thomas came back, made his debut against NKU, logged 14 minutes. Against Georgia Tech, do you see his role increasing, maybe getting some more minutes in that game?
I think Dede's role in this team is going to be is as good as it was a year ago, if not better. As he continues to get back into the rhythm of playing and practicing every day. We've been very cautious with him. His time has been very limited in our practices, and so it would be, to me, unsafe. And this is what our medical people tell us, to do that, and then also throw him into heavy minutes in his first game. That would not be fair to him physically. I think as a player he'd like that, but we don't want to put him in any adverse reason to get an extra injury. So, we'll be increasing, day to day. We're going to increase his load, but we'll do it cautiously. And so some of the decisions with him in game are medical decisions as much as they're basketball decisions till he's fully back. And then when he's fully back, I think that question will answer itself.
Speaking of Georgia Tech, they're obviously Baden Ngongbo had a good game versus you guys last season. Talk about the growth you've seen from him as a player heading into his sophomore season.
I think that was his first game eligible, or maybe he was coming off of an injury in the preseason. I can't remember, but it was his first game, I believe, when he played here last year. We didn't know going into the game whether he would play or not. And he had some of those moments in that game last year where you could just see the talent, and we had seen him in high school, so we knew his ability. And now he got a whole year. He's kind of one of the guys I talk about, right? That had a year under his belt as a young player. I think he's all ACC preseason. He's terrific. He's very versatile for a front court player. Obviously, he's got the athleticism to play way above the rim, but he does a lot of stuff for them on the perimeter, in the pocket, in the middle of the floor. And then he can do things around the basket, as we talked about. And he showed that in this building last year. And then defensively, his ability to go up and block a shot or, defend multiple positions. He's a terrific player, and I think that league, when they pick him as a preseason all-league guy, I think a lot of people are recognizing that now.
Kind of as a follow-up to the Day question, now that he's back, how do you go about managing the depth as well as the rotations with him, Connor, and Jizzle with the 1 and 2? And should we expect to see Day and Jizzle play together?
Yeah, I think like we had the charity game against Ohio State, and I thought the depth was such a strength. However, that feels like ages ago now, but it felt like, man, this depth is such a strength. And then, we've had the issues with Day and Dan, and we had CJ, out a little bit too here the last week. I was really surprised. Really tough of him to try to battle through an ankle injury and play in the last game there for a rotation. But so you start taking away all those experienced guys that all were starters last year. Now you don't feel like you have depth, right? So getting them back and starting to get all these guys back, getting CJ healthier again, and getting Day back into the flow and getting him back into the role that we perceive him having this year. And then obviously Dan, our depth should become really, really important in our ability, because of all these guys, to play different combinations and different lineups is something we were really excited about a month ago, and we were working on, and we've worked on it all summer and fall. And will be something, if we're fortunate enough to get healthy, that I think will be a strength of this team. So, yeah, Day playing more minutes isn't going to affect Jizzle's minutes, and Jizzle playing more minutes isn't going to affect Day. Those are two I expect those two to be as good as any guards in college basketball, and I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity for them to play together.
Do you have an update on CJ? Just played 2 minutes against NKU.
Yeah, he dove on a loose ball. It was actually a really important play. Got us a possession back after a bad offensive possession, and he I think he kind of, I don't want to say re-injured, but maybe tweaked that same foot or ankle, and we were off yesterday, at least from full speed practice. We were off yesterday, and he'll give it a go today. So we'll know more over the next 48 hours.
When you have a 70% three-point shooter, how tough is it to find ways to keep getting him open, and who might benefit if he is not open?
We're just going to continue to. We've been trying to value the same things every day. Our pace of play, coming up the floor. Whether the analytics say it after 4 games or not, I'm just messing with you. But we're going to try to value running on make, misses, and steals, looking for opportunities to get advantages in the open court. We're going to value, being very aggressive, but also being unselfish and making the simple play to your teammate and working together to get a great shot. And we're going to value the offensive board. I don't think there's anything that's happened over the first four games to make us change, but I think when we play that way, our guys are going to have success over the course of the year, and certainly guys like Cimas, who we already know are terrific offensive players, are going to shine, him and others.
Wes, on Dan Skilling, just to follow up, you said progress on the floor next week. Is that just you expect him to? I know you said no games, but practice with the team next week is kind of the hope.
Yeah, there's a return to play progression, guys, and you guys know this from covering not just us, but some of the pro sports teams in town. Like, you don't just have a guy that goes through a procedure and all of a sudden he's feeling good and you just throw him out there and play. I mean, there's a process and a progression. Our medical staff does an incredible job with that here. So, the first step is obviously getting cleared to do anything on the floor, and then the next step would be doing light things on the floor, shooting, basketball movements not at full speed, and then there's a next progression, and so practicing full speed, 5-on-5 or live would be the end of that progression, and then doing it for some sustained time, day after day, and then you would think about game time. So I don't. Dan's thing isn't like it's going to be 5 days or it's going to be, this amount of weeks or months. It's literally just going to be a week-to-week process here for a little bit. And as I've said, we probably could have him on the court quicker, but we're trying to do what's best for Dan long term. He's got a massive future.
Just a quick follow-up. I know this is not top of mind for you 3 weeks and 2 days out. Obviously for the fans it is, but is it realistic to think that he could be back for the shootout in 3+ weeks?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how many days away our game after Georgia Tech is, guys. So I don't even know who we play after Georgia Tech, nor do I care. I mean, I just spent my entire morning in meetings about Georgia Tech, and I was out of breath when I got here because I'm trying to get practice organized in preparation for Georgia Tech. So that is the top of my brain right now is the next opponent and our team getting better today. I don't think that deep. I leave all the narratives to you guys.
You've discussed the importance of Arrington and Tyler Betsy getting extended minutes during this non-conference portion of the schedule. What are the next steps in their development that you'd like to see before you get to Big 12 play to be key contributors?
Yeah, and I think, Tyler Betsy, Arrington Page, Rayvon Griffith, like those guys, the more minutes and quality playing time that we can get them, the better it is for their development and our team's development. I was really pleased with, being on the road for the first time. Arrington, who I thought had a nice game, for a young player in that environment for the first time as a Bearcat at least. And then I thought Tyler got the extended minutes in that game and had a really nice moments too. And, there's good moments they can build confidence from, and then there's also moments that, they can learn from. And that's a really nice combination. We're trying to, again, the depth is a strength. Josh Reed won our defensive award 2 games ago. Against Nichols, he was terrific, and he really gives us something on the board when he's geared up. So I thought he's kind of earned a little bit of a stronger role here in the early going. And, the extended minutes for Tyler, some of the job that Josh has done, along with Day coming back, that kind of stuff, that affected our ability to get Ray into the game. So it's not always one guy. It's kind of a combination of a number of things. It's playing CMOS extended minutes, like stuff like that. But we do want to try to continue to get all 3 of those young players quality minutes, and I think the more we do it, the better it is for our team long term.
You guys have done a pretty good job protecting the basketball over the first 4 games. Is there anything specific that you preach to your primary ball handlers like Jizzle, Day, Connor Hickman?
We just, value. Number one, we want young people that we want the young people we're coaching to know that they can play with confidence and freedom without looking over their shoulder. So aggressive mistakes, aggressive turnovers. I'm a coach. I don't like when we give the ball to the other team, but aggressive mistakes, aggressive turnovers within, who you are as a player. We don't overreact to those. We don't yank guys out of the game for that kind of stuff because we want guys to play free and play confidently. But at the same time, we really value the work that we do every day and the fundamental habits that we try to build every day to take care of the ball in the controllable ways. Footwork turnovers, passing and catching turnovers, like stuff that you have control by the habits that you build. We try to take a ton of pride in that. We try to be very demanding in those areas. But shoot, if you guys know this, I mean, Jizzle James is an incredible player with his shoulders downhill, an incredible player in a ball screen, incredible player in transition. If he's attacking the basket and turns the ball over, I don't even blink. I mean, let's just get back and win the next possession. So I think those guys on the other hand have done a really nice job of not doing the silly stuff that you can control with your habits, and that's kind of the way that we look at it, and those guys have done a nice job.